episode 60 of the U.S.S. Enterprise D tutorial. I'm Zero Elite, and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. And if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Today we got about 26-minute episode, and today we're going to be focusing on our shuttle bays, and primarily focusing on the secondary and tertiary shuttle bay. So without further ado, we're just going to go ahead and jump right into this. You can see we're just going to start building off our main walkway here, our main corridor. We're just going to be bringing this line straight back to the neck. And we're going to bring this all the way back as well. Now we're just going to fill this in. Actually, I've been jonesing to show this because this is one of the parts in the build I'm actually very proud of. I'm very proud of how all three of the shuttle bays came out. While it's not perfect, it looks pretty close to the Enterprise D, and it's really going to help with the scale of the ship. Now you can see I'm going a little bit further down the sides here, but really we're pretty much going to be stopping this at about where the cut for the entrance to the shuttle bay ends, or ends on the left side there. But you can see I'm just bringing it all the way over pretty much. So when I was initially doing this, I thought I was going to end up making my shuttle bays a little bit bigger on the sides, and then just by going in and watching episodes of Next Generation, I noticed that the shuttle bays were not very big, and I didn't want to blow, well, the secondary and tertiary shuttle bay. I can't remember if it was the secondary or tertiary one that they showed the most in the show, but regardless, either one of them, when they showed them, they were not very large. One thing for certain that they never showed was the primary shuttle bay, but that is actually okay because you can find detailed reference material off that, and that's going to be something that we will get into. And if you want to kind of prep ahead to get your research in, go on YouTube and do a search for U.S.S. Enterprise D tour, and you're going to want to look for the tour that was in the Unreal Engine. It should be like the first couple of links, but you'll see it when you go on there and search it. It's a very in-depth tour of the ship, but I believe the beginning of it, they go into the, they start the tour off going through the primary shuttle bay, and that's what we're going to use as our main reference material in building out our primary shuttle bay as well. So we're looking pretty good now. We got our floors in place, at least on the right side. We're going to have to go in now and do the same thing on the left side. And this is, you know, when you're building these ships, this is pretty much it, because like I get questions sometimes like, how do you determine your space when you're building these things? And I just kind of, I start off by importance, you know, in the set, or what's the most important focus of the area. So in this case, a shuttle bay, or the shuttle bay on the neck of the Enterprise D, is a pretty primary focus of the ship. So that's where we're going to be starting off some of our detail on our neck and kind of working our way forward, because we want to, you know, dedicate as much room as we pretty much need for the shuttle bays, but also remembering that they're not super large. And things that we're going to be doing later, also adding in our cargo rooms, because that's something I haven't even built that yet, and I'm still kind of trying to exactly figure out exactly what I'm going to do. But I do know that I want the cargo rooms close to the shuttle bays, because it just kind of makes sense to me that, you know, if you do have any type of cargo that's going to be transported via shuttle, that you would want to have it close to the shuttle bay. But with that being said, Enterprise D did have a cargo transporter So that's something to take into consideration too. But the main point that I'm trying to make here is that you start building your primary focuses first, and in this case, are shuttle bays, and then we start adding around that. So this way, the rest of the ship starts to complement that based off of that area. So we've already kind of been doing that anyway, building off our corridors. That's been separating sections off of the ship, kind of giving us a loose outline of what we're going to do. Um, and now that we had that in place, now we can start filling in the different sections. So you can see there, like just a moment ago, I was looking up, I was thinking about going in and adding in the floor for the primary shuttle bay. And I don't recall if we do that in today's episode or if that's going to be a little bit later. We might end up getting into it, but we're going to start adding in our walls just a little bit here on the tertiary shuttle bay. And these sides here, don't worry, we're going to clean these up more. Main focus right now is just the left and right side middle portion. We'll do the other sides in a little bit. And at this area right here, just want to make sure that we're not deleting any of our exterior hull. Just take your time with it. Now you're probably going to notice that that wall that I'm adding, it's one out from our doorway. I'm doing this on purpose because I want to be able to cover up the corridors so this way they're not sticking through our into the shuttle bay, specifically that gray strip and the white terracotta, and we can kind of just cover them up. This way, from the shuttle bay point of view, it looks nice and clean. And what we'll do for the back walls, those will be the shuttle bay control rooms. One thing I can say is that when this thing is all said and done, the shuttle bay on my Enterprise D, between all three of them, is going to be much larger than what we did on the Cerritos. When we were working on, before we had started this, the Cerritos had the title for having the largest shuttle bay that I've done today, and the Enterprise D is going to easily take that. One thing I've actually been waiting to talk about, I don't know how many of you have been watching Star Trek Lower Decks, but they've really been killing it this season. Ton of references to the original series movies, which I love. And just this past week's episode, they had, can't recall her name, it was a cadet that was on Next Generation. They promoted her to captain, and the ship that she was on was pretty much um, a Next Generation version of the Excelsior, which I thought actually was really cool that they decided to do that, and it kind of like ties in a little bit some of the stuff I've been talking about in the past. You know how when Next Generation was on TV, they really didn't have the budget to flesh out Next Generation era ships other than the Enterprise D. So anytime that you saw these other ships, they were ships from the Shatner era movies, just slightly redressed, like the Stargazer, for example. And then you'd see a lot of Reliant classes or Excelsior classes. You'd never really see other ships that were really next generation um, era. I know that they had another Galaxy class when they had that episode where there was an issue, I think, with a Galaxy class warp core, but it really wasn't until Star Trek Generations that you really started to see some of these other ships. And I think it's so cool that they're doing that because between Star Trek Lower Decks and Star Trek Online, they've really started to flesh out these classes of ships, and it's going to give us a huge advantage because now we're going to have a ton of content to be able to go off of as far as ships that we want to build in Next Generation. Another thing that I wanted to talk about on Star Trek Lower Decks was last week's episode where they had the dolphins, and some of you may not get that joke, but I talked about this, and this is one of the reasons why my Enterprise D is going to have an aquarium in it. And that's because when they originally conceptualized the show, I kid you not, they were going to have navigation dolphins on the ship. And I don't know if they had the same writers on Sequest DSV, but they kind of took that same idea and used it on Sequest. But I thought it was so cool that they decided to incorporate that, because now it makes the navigation dolphins canon. So that's just kind of going to tie in now and make what I'm going to be showing you guys later on in this tutorial series more of canon, that, when we have this aquarium in there. Now, with that being said, the blueprints for the Enterprise D, even though they never showed these navigation dolphins or the aquarium, if you look up blueprints for the Enterprise D, you can find that when you look in the saucer section. Um, so I think that's pretty cool that they decided to do that, because like I just kind of like I lost it for a second. I was like, oh man, like this is pretty cool, because I kind of just decided to build this out on my ship, and all of a sudden uh, they decided to make it canon within the universe. Now you can see here that some of these blocks towards the front, I left them because they're actually going off the we take any of them out, they're going to be deleted off of the neck. So just be careful when you're deleting those blocks, like we were a second ago. Don't want to delete the actual blocks on the neck. So really only have those 3 rows, but I'm going to show you guys how to cover that up. So we're really not going to see it at all. Right now, the main focus is to get our shape. And now once we have our general shape of the room, then we can kind of start making adjustments to it to really make it all come together. You see I built that flush. Off this side, there's not a 1 end gap. Actually had to make it the same as that side there. Yeah, see, we can't delete any of that there. Now we're right on the outside. But no, the left side wall is 1 block in from the lip of the exterior, as opposed to the right side here. It's flush, and we're probably going to have to make a slight adjustment to the right side on the exterior to make both sides match. But that's really not a big deal. What we're actually going to do to cover those blocks up is we're going to be building a walkway. May not get to that in today's episode, because if I'm not mistaken, I don't think that was something that I did until later on. So with the shuttle bays, if I remember correctly from when I was actually building this thing out, I didn't do it all together. I think there was like 1 or 2 gaps as far as like what I was working. I worked on it for a little bit, and I took a break, and I went to something else, and I came back to it. Now, I am trying to avoid doing this just so I can keep my tutorials a little bit cleaner, but at the same time, I like to go by that rule. If you're not sure what to do and it's not coming out exactly the way that you want it to, take a break from it, because you're more than likely at that case just spinning your wheels, and you're more likely than not going to come across a solution that you're happy with. So for that reason, we're going to be getting some work done here in today's episode. I think we're going to be working on this again tomorrow, but then we're probably going to be taking a slight break from at least the secondary and tertiary shuttle bays, and then coming back to them and fleshing them out a little bit more. And you can see there in the front, instead of using the half slabs, I'm just going to fill all this in. We're probably actually going to have to add another level to cover up that blue stripe that's on the exterior of the ship. And in this case, we can totally do that. We can add another layer, so this way it cleans up the roof a little bit. Um, we've got more than enough headroom where we can add another layer if we really needed to. Now, one thing that did bother me on Next Generation, when they showed the shuttle bay and you're looking outside of the ship, you could never see any of the other exterior of the ship. And I never honestly understood that until I built out these rooms, because now we're looking outside. What do you see? Just sky blue. And that's because the engines, they're lower down than the height of the shuttle bay. And that was something I just kind of never, I never connected the dots on it until I actually built out these rooms. I always just kind of assumed that they just didn't have the budget to do it. Now we'll be going along with the cut on the Shuttle Bay entrance to kind of simulate, well, to give it kind of like a little bit of pinstriping, but also like a guideline that, hey, this is the Shuttle Bay entrance, to kind of reflect landing lights a little bit. And we're going to do more of that too. We'll actually have yellow strips going inside that'll simulate landing strips. But I did that with the Cerritos too, with the blue, and I actually really like that color, even though it's not exactly canon to the ship. I think I took a slight liberty with it, but I'm okay with it. You can get away with stuff like this because remember, at the end of the day, these ships are completely made up, and have a little bit of fun with it. Take a little bit of artistic liberty. If you're not happy with what I'm doing, if you want to stay true to the ship, just look up screenshots of the shuttle bay, and you'll be able to color it out a little bit better. Now we're going to go into the primary shuttle bay and get a little bit of work done. Still got some time today. Still got about 9 minutes. We're just going to start pre-gaming the floor here. I think we're actually going to get a lot of the floor done today. So while this is going, let's see. What else do I have going on here? So I was trying to make it a point that I'd have it by today's episode, more information on my Discord channel. I've actually got it up ready to go. I just actually have to attach the link to my channel now, and more than likely at some point I'm also going to have it in my outro video, the link to join. But I'm going to try to get that set up um, today or tomorrow, because I'm going to be probably recording 2 episodes back to back today, and I'll probably be doing the third episode tomorrow. Um, so for you guys, that will probably show up on Thursday's episode. If not, yeah, I'll have that by Thursday's episode, because right now I'm recording Tuesdays. But the Discord channel is going to be pretty cool because this is going to be giving people a chance to be able to communicate with me directly, not just in the comments section. And when you're asking questions, you can show me pictures of your build, and I can help you a little bit better. And not only that, I'll be able to communicate my schedule and if I'm taking any brief breaks from building, things like that. And people will be able to showcase their own builds as well. And it's something that I'm going to be trying to do just to kind of work up a building community together, because you never know. I've had 1 or 2 people in the past ask me about building with me. Um, but and that's something that could actually be kind of cool. All these builds that I've done so far, I've done completely by myself, and I wouldn't exactly be opposed to it, but I am kind of a stickler when it comes to building. Once I get my mind set on something, I get my mind set on it. But I would be open to it, depending on who it is, and if I can come up with something with them. I might be open to doing something like that down the road. But right now, I think with the YouTube channel, it's really just going to be being able to connect with people within the community and helping them out with their builds, and also having areas to showcase where they can have show their own builds, whether it's something that um, watching one of my tutorials or maybe just something completely different. And another thing I'm going to be doing too. Um, that I actually just kind of thought of, and I don't know why I didn't think of it before, but I'm going to have a poll tab on there too. So this way, when I'm getting ready to think about what my next builds are going to be, I think I'm going to be referring people to my Discord so they can go on that channel and they can submit their suggestion on a ship that they want me to build or a specific build that they'd like to see, and people can vote on it. That'll be absolutely a vital resource on this channel going forward, because right now what I'm basically doing is I have people commenting and I try not to respond when people make a suggestion, and I only do that so this way that the suggestion, it doesn't disappear from my feed, and then I can go back and I can see what people want. But that can take a little bit of time because then I'm literally feeding through hundreds of messages trying to determine which ones have the most vote. And using the Discord channel with the polls, I'll be able to help me save a ton of time in doing this. And actually, really looking forward to it. Hopefully, I can get people into the Discord channel because once I have that going, that's really going to help me out quite a bit as far as just being a lot more organized on my channel moving forward. Um, Getting back in a little what we got going on here, we're going to be bringing this wall or the floor all the way back to the wall. Now, going forward, once we finish filling in this floor, when we start working on more of the primary shuttle bay, we're going to be deleting that back wall there and opening that up and kind of reshaping that um, so that we can kind of flesh out the primary shuttle bay, because you won't really see this, what I mean, unless you go and you watch that tour of the Enterprise D like I was talking about, because the primary shuttle bay is absolutely massive. And I'll even say that what I end up with is probably only a fraction of the size of the actual primary shuttle bay, how it should look. But I think that it's going to end up being a nice homage to it. It's going to be pretty close. And kind of at the end of the day, I just end up using the space that I have available to me to build this thing out. And I think it'll be pretty cool. I'm really looking forward to showing you guys some of this stuff on the interior because I've been sitting on this for a while now. And not even just this area. Like one of the other rooms that I'm really looking forward to showing you guys is the mall slash aquarium. And I don't want to get into it too much because it's kind of a surprise. I'm really looking forward to showing it off. Um, but I think it's just going to be something that's completely unique that nobody else is going to have on their builds, and I'm really looking forward to showing off that area. But see, just like even this main area right here, we're going to have a lot of room to work with, and once we open up this area here, this back wall, we'll have even more space to go off of. You can see here I'm kind of tweaking this back wall here, but I think we're going to end up taking this whole thing out because pretty much how the primary shuttle base sits, it goes in so far and then it forks off into an oval. Um, and what we can do is we can use the existing pallets that we have um, within our inner rings on the lower side of the saucer section to kind of cheat without having to go back to a pixel circle generator to do that. But that's pretty much what we're going to do. Um, I would say if you just want to stay up where I am and keeping up with me, just copy what I'm doing here, so this way you can have the similar structure to what I have. But just to give you a forewarning that we are eventually going to take out everything that we just did with this back wall here. But I think this is going to be another room that we're going to end up having a hiatus from working on it because when you're working on these ships, it really is a jigsaw puzzle, making it all fit together. And I try to go by off a specific rule that you get your corridors and your turbo lifts done first so you can kind of make it all work together. But what ended up happening for me here was that when I went in to start building the bridge, um, I had to make some slight adjustments to it. And then I also realized that I didn't necessarily have a way to get into my shuttle bay. And I had to pretty much mess with it until it came out exact way I wanted it to. I won't really be able to get into it much more until we really start working on it. Um, but that's just kind of what ended up happening here. And that'll happen to you guys too when you're working on these ships. You know, it's going to happen. You're going to have to make adjustments as you go because once I started building my bridge, I realized that some of the things I intended to do for the shuttle bay, the primary one anyway, I couldn't do. Like a perfect example, having um, the cargo um, elevator, turbo lift. That's what I meant to call it, turbo lift. That was something I wanted to add, but then I realized that, well, if I want to do my bridge right, and then not only that, directly underneath the shuttle bay is going to be the mall slash aquarium. I actually had to completely axe out the cargo turbo lift, but we're going to facade it out regardless. So when we build this out, you'll actually still be able to see it and it'll be there, but it just won't have multiple decks to it to really flesh it out because once we go lower down, then we'll be into our mall area of the ship. But we'll get into that more as we go. Today ended up being a little bit more prep work. We got our some of our walls done, really our flooring, so now we can start really fleshing out our shuttle bays. But we're really going to start moving along here, trying to get as much done as we can. But we'll see how long it takes to get through this thing. But anyway, I think that's going to wrap us up today. I just want to thank you all again for tuning in today's episode. And don't forget, you can always catch my new Minecraft episodes dropping Tuesdays through Thursdays. And of course, if you have any questions regarding today's episode, don't forget, drop a comment below. And if you have any questions or there are any builds that you want to see me do, you're just saying, hey, drop a comment. Usually pretty responsive in the comment section. I'll try to help you out if I can. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me. I just want to thank you all again, and I'll catch you in the next episode. And of course, what did you build in Minecraft today? Let me know in the comment section.